G'day, Aussie Bonsai Bloke, here you go. Well, today, going to be working on this lemon tree. It's super healthy. Bit of a history on the tree. It was grown from seed maybe 8-9 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. Grown in the ground for possibly 5 and then dug up only a year or so, or only a year or so before I moved. So 3 years ago, doors rattling. So maybe 3 years ago, got dug up, possibly 4, and it had pretty unhealthy growth. I was almost going to sell it, and this year I've just stacked on the fert, just thrown her down, and this thing's loved it. It's got the best growth I've ever seen it have. I defoliated it only maybe a month ago, and look at all the new growth on it. So first thing we've got to do is pull it out of the pot, or at least cut the pot down so that we can see the base, because it does have a really good base in here, so I'll show you that. But the first thing let's do, open up the tun and let's have some fun. Cheers. So I'll get a saw and we'll cut the pot off so that you guys can see. Okay guys, we've finished sawing. So let's take off the lip of the pot. And that's what we're left with. Like I say, she was grown from seed, put in a nursery container for a while, and then chucked in the ground for a long while. Does have some weird cuts under here, I'm not sure what happened, but give it a spin at the base. I'll show you guys a bit of a close-up of the base. So it does have a bit of a decent base. Could be always better, but pretty. Okay, so first thing we've got to do now is decide where we want the front of this tree. I quite like this side branch here mixed with this trunk. It'll be a sort of a trunk, and then there's a main trunk up top. So it is leaning away a bit, but that can be rectified by planting it on a bit of a different angle next time, so it leans towards you more. That's not a big deal. This front's pretty good here, but there is a bit of an undercut here where maybe I cut it when I was digging it up or something bad. Not sure, but let's choose the front. So I think that gives you the best overall look of the branching. That one's not bad, but pretty flat and plain. You've got two trunks similar size here, looking at you. So that could be a pretty poor option. I'd say that's where I'm looking at for a front. So like I say, this tree was in poor health. I fertilised it really heavily this year, and it's really shot back really nice. It's going the best it's ever gone. So anyone that watches my channel a lot will know, 1, I like my tun, and 2, I've gone off of wiring. Not 100%, you know, I will still wire out some primary branches if they need it, but I'm tending more towards just guide wires now, and I feel like this tree could benefit a fair bit from some guide wires. I'm going to shorten this ugly root here off. Hope that it sprouts into the ground here somewhere. So we'll shorten that. So it was still alive. You can see the roots on the end. Maybe even shorten it some more. put a bit of dirt around it so that hopefully she shoots if she doesn't have any further roots, any more roots close to the trunk, but should shoot now that we've put a bit of dirt on it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is we're going to guide wire. So I'll get my messy ball of wire here. Here we go, I've got my protective tubing as well. Anything from, you know, fish tank plastic or fuel line, something like that, just to protect the branch from the wire is a good thing. So let's go. So we just cut some wire, cut a bit of fish tube tank. Bit of plastic tubing, put it on the wire, and then that's where your bend will be, so that protects the branch there like that. And then we just simply put it around the branch that we want to pull out. Do some good loops. Now this is going to be a pretty solid one to bend. If I left this one much longer, I don't think I could bend it. So probably a good thing that we're doing it here today. And I don't want to bend anything out down past horizontal. I want it to come out at an acute angle up, make it look more natural, and then maybe bend out towards horizontal, towards the outside. But then it'll have shoots that go back up in the air again anyway and grow up. So I don't like the look of having everything down and out like a ladder tree. I want it to look more natural. So what I'll do now is I've got this bit of wire here in this hand. I'll push on that branch that I want to bend with this finger and just twist it a little bit with the thumb. Just twist it, pull the wire with my other hand. You can get a helper if you don't think you can do it all at once. And you just want to pull it out just to the point where you feel like it might snap. If it does snap, it's not the end of the world, something will grow back, but we'll try not to. So that's about as far as I want to push it. And you can see that's really pushed that branch out a bit. So we're going to go through the whole tree, just doing that in some certain areas. I'm not going to go crazy on it. And then as I get closer to the top of the tree, I want to have the branches get even more vertical, and then even the need for guide wires will be less and less. Okay, and your branch selection that you want to choose, you want to just keep a lot of different branches in all different spots and locations all around the tree, so that when you finish you end up with a nice full looking tree. You don't want to have big bare spots, straight trunk with nothing on it. So here, you know, you got this trunk here with nothing on it here. Ideally that could have had a shoot there, it would have been beautiful, but it doesn't. So I'll have to cut it back to there, and we'll just have to hope something pops out. But for now, let's just deal with what we've got. This tubing, I got this tubing from an old car that I bought. I don't know where the guy got it from, but it was in the boot. And I tell you what, that's nearly a lifetime bloody supply right there. Beauty. So here we got two branches sort of competing with each other. I'm tempted to keep both, just for the heck of it. See which one ends up more interesting in time to come. So I've actually got the two stubs stopping at a similar spot. So what I'll do is I'll put the wire on both of them together and have the two branches come out together. Why not? And then we'll pull that one down. That one doesn't need your thumb and your forefinger to help pull it down, because it's thinner, so it's, you know, going to bend a bit easier. Okay. So I don't want to go too far. I don't want to bend them down like that and have them facing down. I reckon they look silly. I still want them to be mainly facing up. So just a little bit, just to spread the foliage out a bit, or the canopy of the tree. Okay, and then we've got a really solid one at the back here. I'm going to do the same with that one. Really cool branch, a lot of divisions, really good spot. I'm going to be super careful with that one. It's going to twist as well. That'll become good back, really good back branch. I just got to work out exactly where I want it to pull it to on this pot. If I go forward, it'll pull it forward more. So you go to the front and decide, do you want it to go straight down backwards there, or do you want it to try and come slightly out here to create some depth to the tree? And there's a branch already on this side at the back, so my feeling is we want it to come out here. So that would mean you put your guide wire further out this way, and you know, pull it out this way. So then from the front you can start to see that branch coming out. So give it good depth and create a more realistic tree. So let's do that one. Okay guys, so we're going to really slip down a bit. It actually took out the top branch, but you can see it's fallen off. Took out that little one at the top. There is another one there, so it's not a massive concern, but it's something that shouldn't have happened. I was a bit careless. Now, same thing, I want to hold the pressure here down the bottom, pull down on the top. Really feel the branch and slowly move it down. Slowly, just to really sort of massage it down, because if you try and do it all in one big shot, there's a good chance it could just break off at the base. And if you're really worried about how far you can bend the branch, grab one that you're not going to need, or you don't think that you'll need, and try bending that first, see how flexible it is. Okay, luckily for me, it seems quite flexible. It's pretty good. Okay, so now we've got another small branch at the back here. So this is creating a tree with, you know, almost pure guide wire. Seems to work pretty well. Just quench the thirst. She's a pretty well a 40-degree day here in South Australia. We're having a heat wave. It's 35 to 40 for 4 days straight or something. Bit of a heat wave, but in general, I must say our summer this year has been nice and cool compared to most years, and the trees are really loving it. So here you can see I'm not going to bend it past horizontal, and it's just going to be used to spread it out. Okay, and then that fills in that gap with this one, that gap with that one, that gap with that one, and then I can bring some of these down. Might have to chop a few off, we'll see. But you can see how I'm spreading it out just to fill in the tree. And this way you can do it with guide wires and not have to muck around individually wiring every one, and then have to come back later and chop them off. If you get a bit slack with these guide wires, they take over a year before they'll start to bite into anything. So you've got a lot of time to sort out whatever it is that you think you want to do with the tree. Okay, so here, got another one we want to pull out to the side here. Create a bit more depth over there. So we'll do that with the guide wire. You can see how dark green this thing is. Just super healthy this year. Super healthy. So the difference is this year I've been fertilising this one once a week with full strength fertiliser. I've been putting worm castings on it, some worm juice, power feed, fish emulsion. It's had the works. I've been chucking everything at this, and you know what? It ain't looking back. It's just powering. This was, like I say, defoliated, I reckon, only 4 weeks ago. Maximum 4 weeks ago. And she's powering, so pretty happy with that. I would repot it, but I've been informed it's not the right time of year to repot lemon trees middle of summer. And I did repot what I thought was a kumquat, but could be a miniature orange, who knows. But I repotted that and copped a little bit of flack. Wrong time of year, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay, so we're just spreading the branches out. You can see it's really spreading the branches out now rather than going straight up. But at the same time, we don't want to bend them right down backwards on themselves and have it look ridiculous with the branches going straight down, because that's not how a lemon tree or a deciduous or even a broadleaf grows. In fact, most pines don't even grow like that. The only trees that do is maybe your spruces and some of your cedars, you know, where you get a bit of snow load on them. Even your pines don't grow like that. So while we've adopted that style of pulling everything right down to the point where it's actually going trunk here, and the branches actually come out below vertical, below horizontal. Even horizontal looks silly. I think come up at an acute angle and then bend it down slowly. Right, I'm just going to have a quick break and we'll be back. Okay guys, so remember this is the back of the tree that we're doing right now. Just choosing some branching and trying to spread out the branches a bit. So it's going to be guide wire central. I did want to repot it like I said, but another thing, I can't repot it anyway because I've got all these guide wires tied to the pot. Certain trees, if you've got a base that's sitting out to the side or a bit of deadwood, you can always screw a screw into the base of the tree and pull them down to that if you've got no option because you've got it in a bonsai pot. Just screw a screw even into this tree. You could screw screws into the side of the trunk, pull them down to the screws or lag bolts, whatever you want to use, and then when you've you know, when the branches are all set, then pull your screws out and the wounds will heal over fine. It won't affect the tree. That's another way of doing it if you don't have the option of putting a hole in the side of your pot. Other people sometimes wrap wire around the bottom of the pot, so you've got somewhere to tie it onto. You do a loop around the pot. But for me, I've got this plastic pot, I can just easily put holes in it. So we've got a really thick branch up the top that I've got to try and bend down. Okay. Quite thick. Okay, that's that done. It'll be interesting when we repot this tree maybe next year. We can see the roots, see what it's like. Another thing too, don't cut wire with your snips, not good for your snips. I don't practice what I preach, but good idea to value your snips. Just so happens that I'm pretty good at sharpening snips, so the idea of putting a few little scuff marks in it with this thin wire doesn't really bother me. So here up the top, I've got a bit of a problem here. We've got a branch right on the tip. Oh, they got rid of that problem, it snapped off. It's alright, there's another branch there on the tip anyway. got to be super careful. Like I say, I defoliated this, so all these little branches are super soft right now because they're all new. I cut this back pretty hard just a few weeks ago or a month ago, and yeah, like I say, super soft growth, very easy to break. So I'm going to just help that out a bit by bending it down with my hand. Actually, I'm not really happy with the way I've bent that into there. I actually want it to cover this bald spot here. That one there will come down as well, but I'd like this one to come across more. Okay, so let's just take that one off there and see what it's going to be like in one of these other holes. So I want it to come down and across more, probably something like that. So I can use this hole that I've already put in. I want your branches just to fill out the tree, so you've got lots of options. Don't go cutting off all your branches and only, you know, having 3 main branches on the tree, because quite often that's what happens. People go, oh yeah, you can only have, see here we got 2, you can only have 1, so let's cut off 1. But then they go, oh actually, the first branch should always be on the side. Okay, so we've got to keep that one as the first branch. So let's cut this back one off completely, both of these. Okay, and then the second branch should be the one on the right, on the other side. Okay, so we're going to cut this one off as well. Next minute, you got this bald back of the tree. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but doesn't it look a lot better to have foliage there, depth and stuff, rather than just chopping it off? So, you know, that's why these rules are very dangerous. People following rules. There are no rules. Just covering areas that are too bald with good branching and foliage, because a nice healthy tree is going to have good branching and good foliage. You know, don't keep stuff that's growing on into the inside. If a crossing branch looks a bit ugly, then, you know, get rid of it, but it doesn't mean all crossing branches are going to go either. Just play it by ear, fill in a lot of areas, leave more branches than you think, and you can always go back later and chop them out later in the design if you want to, if you decide that there are too many branches. But you know, we're talking about, you know, maybe 3 years of growing branching on this tree, so we don't want to just go ahead and rushly chop it all off following rules, because you end up with a bald tree, 3 or 4 branches, all wired straight out. You'll have one there, one at the back, a couple up here, a couple up there, and that'll be your whole tree. So don't go following all those rules. If you join a club, don't let people force rules onto you, because quite a few people in clubs, you know, old school rules, got to do this, got to do that, and they'll say side branch, back branch, side branch, back branch, and that's how they'll teach you. So be very careful joining a club that you find someone that's a bit more open to just making your bonsai look more natural and more like a tree, rather than turning it into a ladder sort of a bonsai. If you're after a ladder bonsai, go for it. It's not my style, but if it's your style, go for it. Okay, let's get another guide wire going here. We've got another branch here, which is actually the front now. We're moving around to the front. Work out where we want to pull that one down to. Whether we want to pull it out sideways, okay, or forward. If you pull it forward, remember you got these branches here which might not have anywhere to go. So it could be a good option to pull it out more to the side. So we might do that. So I might even use this existing hole here. So that'll be 3 guide wires going to that one existing hole. And remember, where you pull these branches is not the be all and end all. It's not where it's 100% going to be in future. You can always go back and change it, modify it. Just kill a slug. Change it, modify it around later on if you have to. So you can always change it later a bit. This is not the 100% final design, although having said that, it is definitely probably the most critical part of your design, because you're choosing branches that you want to keep, ones that you want to get rid of, and setting up really the final, you're setting up the final shape of the tree now, really, without knowing that you are, because you're selecting the main branching. And the main branching almost dictates where you want to go. Obviously you can change that a bit with your secondary and tertiary branches, but in general you are going a long way to setting up the final design of your tree. Okay, so this is actually a front branch. It's actually right in the middle of the V. It's not ideal. Really, you should be cutting both of them out. But the problem with that is there's nothing else further up the trunk until you get right to the top to bend forward. So what we might do, see how flexible this one is, see if we can pull it down a long way to the front and keep just a little puff of foliage in the front, and then hopefully you can still then see later into the trunk. I can always try and pull down this finer one and just create something like that, a little puff of foliage in there. So not ideal. Might come back to that. This one here can come down a bit. Could even yep, I'll pull that one down here. So you can see this is going to be a tree massively full of guide wires for a while, but I'll tell you what, it's a lot less stressful for the tree, for one, because you're not wrapping all the branches up and contorting them all over the place. You are just, you know, putting a bit of a curve in them, not really stressing them out too much, unless you have to bend a really fat branch. And it's quick and easy, you know. All these guide wires, quick and easy way to do it. And then you just create all your branch division with your trimming and all that sort of stuff. And I've already created a decent amount of branch division already in close to the trunk just by clip and grow. Now, I'm not really happy with how far I bent that one down. Starting to get down too far, and remember, as you get close to the top, you want the bottom ones to go out, up and then out, but still past horizontal, and then as you get to the top they can get more and more vertical, so out and then more vertical at the top. So I've gone a bit too far with this one, so let's pull it back a bit. Okay, that's probably more believable. Now we've got a big fat one up here. Just trim this back. This is a bit in the way, you can't see much. Big fat one up here. And we're going to just pull it maybe over this way here. Okay. probably do that off this one down here, or you could put a bolt or a screw into here and tie it to that. Well, we'll do that just something different. Let's go get the drill. Okay guys, time for another beer. Nearly done this tree. Bloody beauty. Bloody beauty. Ton is fun. Now, I had to actually put my phone in the freezer because it's overheating here in the shed. I'm actually not sweating too bad yet, but the phone overheated and I had to do what we had to do. I'll bring you guys in closer. Sorry for bumping you around, but thought you might want to see this. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to just put in a screw with a drill, and we're going to tie this branch down to there. Okay, so let's put a screw in. Screw is a bit long, to be honest. Okay, so we're going into this dead wood, but if your wood's alive, it doesn't matter, it'll heal over. Okay, so we've got our bolt in there, lag bolt or screw or whatever you want to call it. I don't know whether lag bolt's an American term. It's actually a decking screw, to be honest, that's what it is. Okay, now we grab our tube, put it around. Sorry about this nail, it's coming up, I hurt my nail. Painful. Not painful now, but it was at the time. We're going to do something about getting rid of it. Okay. So we'll wrap that wire around that branch. Wrap it around our bolt. Same thing, thumb in there to help support it. Pull down with your finger. Okay, don't go too crazy on it, but just enough to give the tree some movement and fan it out a bit so it's not all 100% upright. Although you want things to be upright, you don't want them to be all growing dead straight up. You do want it to fan out and create some width to it as well, because the lemon tree in nature is pretty well as wide as it is high. So you want to try and keep that in mind. Doing your lemon tree pretty well as wide as it is high, which this thing will be close, you know. You should see this. See the smell? Smell the smell I can smell right now. Alright, so let's go back. Take you guys back. Hopefully I don't need to put you guys in the freezer again, because you guys were in the freezer just before cooling down. And I'm not too bad, no sweat yet, so it's good. I must be adapted to the heat pretty well. Okay, so that's all done. Any more guide wiring? Maybe this top apex, this will be the apex. We want to pull forward so that the top can come out forward. Ideally, I don't know if you can see it, but ideally this branch here would be better if it was leaning more that way. It's got a bit of a lean on it. It's not too bad, but we don't quite, so no. What am I saying? It's got a lean on it that way. It'd be better if it was leaning that way. So now we have to pull this that way to make it look like the top's coming back forward again. And when we repot it, we'll repot it forward like that as well. So that way the top will come towards you, because at the moment it is leaning back a bit, but I feel like we can fix that problem and and it's not that far leaning back that you know, need to worry too much. Like I say, I think we can fix that problem. That's what I'm trying to say. Alright, let's get some more wire. Look at this mess. Absolute bloody mess. Sam, you are a disgrace, mate. Absolute disgrace. Okay, so we're going to pull this one forward. So let's go to the front. Somewhere there. Let's pull it forward. Actually, before we do that, I've decided this one is too thick right in the front. So I just feel like it's in a silly spot. So let's chop it off. Flush. You can see big hole. It's alright. You can see now it's very bare on the front. I didn't want to do that, but I don't feel like I had much of an option. I can bring this, actually I can bring that one over a little bit. I might bring that one down and out. And then possibly, yeah, this one over a bit. And I think that'll sort of fix it up a little bit. Or even some of these side branches eventually with clip and grow can be grown over the front of the tree there. Just so they cross the front a little bit. You don't want to obstruct the front, but at the same time you don't want to see a whole bare naked trunk all the way up. It doesn't look good, I don't think. If you have, you know, it's like a streaker going out onto the soccer field and exposing themselves. Doesn't look that great. Funny, but doesn't look that great. Same here. We want to be able to see the trunk, but it needs to entice you. You know, be like a sexy woman with wearing her underwear. The underwear or the bathers entice you. And it's actually more sexy than when they're stark naked. Right, so I can pull this one forward, but I don't know whether I can. It's very thick. So I'm going to pull the top forward. Okay, enough mucking around. Let's pull the top forward. We've got the wire cut. I'll shorten this little branch here at the front. Opting to keep the node that's going to grow forward. So you can, when you clip and grow, you direct the growth by cutting it where the next node's going to come out. I'll try and show you. So with this one here, you got 1, 2, 3, 5 branches there. If I was to cut it up here, okay, the next one would come towards you because that's the way the leaves face. And that one there will go right and slightly to the back because that's the way the leaves face. And if I cut it down there, if I cut it there, it'll go left. The next shoot. If I cut it there, it'll go right. Cut it there, it'll go left. So you get the idea. You can choose the way the new growth grows by, you know, pruning to the leaf that's facing where you want the new growth to go. That's true for pretty well all alternate broadleaf and deciduous. Not so much for non-alternate leaf. There you'll probably get 2 shoots come out and then you've got to cut one off. But similar principle, you still cut to where you can see that it'll shoot out to. So here I'll just put a guide wire around here. Okay. It's quite a thin top branch, so easy to direct. And tops of trees generally get quite thick, so you don't need to worry about if they look a bit thin to start with, because they end up with a lot of different branching and stuff making the canopy, and they thicken up real quick, so don't stress too much about that. We'll make a hole in the pot. So if the top's thin, don't worry, it'll thicken itself up. Bottom's too thin, well, then I suggest you let branches grow. So here I may well let that one grow out for a whole another year before I then come back and cut it, because it is a bit thin. Same with some of these, maybe I'll let them grow out now and really thicken up. But I just wanted to set the initial structure today and more than worry about fatness of branches. Fatness of branches is not a real critical thing, you know. You can easily change the fatness of a branch over a season or two without much stress. You just decide, okay, this one's too thin, next season I'm just going to let it grow wild. You let this one grow wild, let that one grow wild. Whichever one you think's too thin, just let it grow wild and away it goes. And then it'll fatten up and become quite believable in future. So don't worry too much if you've got a thin branch at the bottom. You can always fatten them up. So we'll cut this one off on the inside. It's dead anyway. So we've got a bit of a leader on this one, which will shoot out sideways there. It's already facing in a good direction, so I don't need to do anything there. Pretty well done. We've just got to pull this one here across. Forward and across a little bit. Let's do that. We're getting there, we're nearly done. Let's hope we get done before that camera overheats again. Like I say, it is, well, it's probably over 40 in the shed. I seem to be handling it not too bad though. But the poor old phone or camera is not. Oops. Okay, so we want to bring this one here over a little bit. So look at where it starts. Be nice and gentle because, like I say, a lot of these are fresh little shoots. Also, don't be daunted by the size of these leaves at the moment. These leaves are quite big. So what's happened is I've defoliated it, and because there is limited amount of shoots on this tree and you're not into your full detailed ramification yet or divisions in branches, it puts a lot of energy to each branch, but in time the energy will be more spread out over a lot more growing tips and your leaves will shrink in size by probably half of this, if not more. And then you can do, you know, partial defoliations and stuff in future to help keep that under control. Now another thing I want to do, so we're happy with all that. That's all good. Okay, another thing I wanted to do was just pull this one down to the right a bit. So let's do that. It's probably just enough. Just enough wire there. So let's do that. Let's put this bit of wire on here. You know, bonsai is not as hard as people make out. You just basically filling in gaps, growing branches where you think they look good. Okay. And then when you get to the trimming stage, you just trimming to create lots of ramification and try and push leaves and branches where you want them. That's pretty well it. Okay, so pretty, no actually that's silly, that one there's going out at the wrong angle. Make sure you fix it now, don't just settle for something if it's a little bit wrong. So that one actually looks better if I pull it more forward than if I come back too far. Okay, and then we'll let that sort of cross the trunk a little bit in future. Okay, with the leaves, and I think that just creates more interest because then you've got to get in there and have a good look at, you know, at the trunk. You can see some of the trunk but not all of the trunk, and it makes you want to get in there and have a good look. Okay, so I think we're pretty right now. And also, you know, I think we're doing pretty well. We could probably fan this canopy out Okay, pull that one down over here. Could probably nearly get pulled onto this bolt that we've already got, so that's good. Let's do that. Alternately, you could wire that one because it is a pretty thin, easy branch to wire into the right position, but I don't like to have just one piece of wire on my tree. I like to know that it's either free of wire or full of wire, because otherwise what will happen is I'll think, oh yeah, that one's wire free. Then what will happen is I'll get, you know, busy doing other stuff, forget that there is one piece of wire on there, and then in time I'll come back to work on the tree and realise I've made big blue, and we've ended up with wire biting in. So, you know, this way I know all we've got on this whole tree now is guide wires. Pretty happy. So I'm pretty happy with the guide wires. So let's give it a little spin now. Okay. Just have a look for any problem areas. So I feel like I've gone too far with this one. Definitely. I've done something wrong with that one. That looks weird. So let's fix that now. This one here has just gone too... just gone too far down. It just looks silly. So that one is sort of the back of the tree, and I've pulled it down too far. So it's starting to get to what I was talking about earlier, where I don't like branches to go past vertical. So I can either try pulling it further that way, or maybe, geez, this lag bolt's coming in handy, or this deck screw. No, it's not quite the right angle. So what I could do, okay, that's not bad. I'm actually going to tie it to the other guide wire up here. Okay, so it's all about just doing what you need to do to make things in the right spot. Make it pull from the right spot. So pretty happy with that. We can put a kink in this wire here, so that wire sits there and doesn't move up or down. And you can see if you try and move it down, it comes back up. Try and move it up, whoops, gets stuck back down there. See, it almost clicks in. Okay, and that's given it a better, I think, a better angle of the branch. Alright, what else? Looking pretty good. Could probably angle this one forward. It comes from the inside of that branch there, the main trunk. We could probably angle that one forward. So let's do that now. Remember, we're setting up all the structure for the future. So the main branches have already been decided. There will probably be no more main branches added to this tree, apart from some maybe at the apex up the top. Pretty well the branching you see on it now will be the branching of the future. You're just going to refine it and divide it more so that you end up with better structure in the long run. So that's going to come probably forward, I think. Yeah, like that. Might put another kink there. Bring that one down more. Whoa, what are you? Caterpillar. Oh, you ever seen him? Catch you later, bloke. Alright, so we come through here at the front. Pull that one forward and down a little bit. Okay, so we're pretty well done with the guide wires. You can see we got 2, 5, 7, 9, 12, 13 guide wires plus a couple of top, probably 15 guide wires. So the matter of 15 guide wires, you've styled out the whole tree. I hope you'll agree it looks better than it did at the start. It's still leaning away, we know that, but we've got to repot it more forward in future. Yeah, really cool. So that's our lemon tree. Let's give it a bit of a trim now. I feel like we should give it a bit of a trim up. Shorten it. Get some more divisions hopefully before winter comes along here. Might get some more branch divisions. Only on the long, really long branches. The weaker ones I'll leave. I won't cut them back. We'll just cut back some of the really long leggy ones that have grown. And remember, also choosing where you want it to fill in next. And you do that, remember, by the direction of the leaf. So depending on where the direction of the leaf goes. Alright, so that one's saggy, so I reckon I've snapped that when I wired it. The leaf was already getting saggy, which means I must have snapped it. No point hanging on to it. Go. Bit of a trim. Another thing I will say too is where you've got your main branching coming up and then bending out, I don't mind, like here, I don't mind if you've got a branch going up and a branch going down. That does not bother me at all. I'll keep both. Okay. Actually, I won't cut any of them short now because I feel like that needs to fatten up a little bit. Okay, so it needs to fatten up a bit, so I'll leave all of that. But I don't mind you got one going down, one going up, because that creates a lot of depth in your, I guess, branch structure. Not really a pad, but branch structure. You know, it'll create a lot of depth out there, up and down, rather than just having a flat pad. If you went everything vertical, you could choose these two here, cut the up and down off, and then you have a flat pad, which I don't think looks as good. I like to create the depth by the up and down as well. So I'm going to let that grow out there, help with the thickening of that lower branch. And apart from that, you know, we're getting pretty close to being done. Let's give it another spin here. I'm going to leave these branches to help fatten that one. This one here I can probably cut back a bit to a leaf facing out this way, so it shoots out this way. Help fill in that gap. Yeah, we're looking pretty good. We can get rid of a few big leaves so that you can see the branch structure a bit better. Okay guys, well, pretty well done. Let's lean her forward with a bit of a chock here. So it'll look, you know, maybe that's not quite big enough. Look more like what it'll look like in the future once we have repotted it to where we want it. That's probably a bit stupid. I don't know, 2 of those would be alright. The old tape measure and the bit of metal. And you know, that's probably something like what it'll be repotted like in the future. So you can see now it's facing forward and be coming at you. So I'll give you guys a spin on the way out. Cheers for watching the Aussie Bonsai Bloke. styling a lemon tree. Pretty happy with its progress. In the future it should make a really nice tree. You know, this is an easy way of styling without having to worry out every individual branch. If you're lazy like me, or you just don't like the aesthetic look of the S-curve wiring and you want more acute angles for branch divisions like I do, and you know, Nigel Saunders, he's into clip and grow, he likes the angles better clip and grow method, and I have to say I'm the same. I used to like to wire a lot of stuff out, but these days I'm turning more into a clip and grow man. I will wire if I have to though. No worries. Cheers for watching, Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Please like, share, subscribe. Enjoy your ton, have some fun, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.